truth. But she got through. She brought us to a police station, and this man walked into the room and said, "You are Mr. Kulu." And I said, "No, I'm Mr. Brubeck." And he said, "No, you Kulu." Then he pulled out a Polish paper with a picture of me, and the caption said, "Mr. Kulu." And I realized I was Mr. Cool, and that was my name. Many of the ideas that we developed for Time Out came from touring in these countries, like Blue Rondo a Turk. That's a Turkish folk beat. Taya, 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 taya. And then it goes into a blues.
4/4, 2.
Brubeck returned to the U.S. with a complete vision of the time signature experiments for Time Out. For his album of cool rhythmic innovation, Brubeck decided that drummer Joe Morello was to be given a showcase.
I heard Joe playing this beat backstage, and I said, "We'll have something in 5/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5."
"5/4. That's right up my alley, man. You know. It's just spontaneous. I was looking for more colors, you know, different textures of sound.
I said, "Boy, this is fine. This is going to work." Time Out was going where I envisioned jazz should go.
Jazz history had been written in 4/4 time. And you get Dave Brubeck doing a whole album with the idea of using different time signatures.
Columbia told me, "All these crazy time signatures, that'll never sell." But the disc jockeys started playing this. We had a big hit.
The idea that jazz could actually make it onto pop radio in America in the late 50s, that was totally unheard of. What really works well with Time Out is that it provides an easy introduction for mainstream America to deal with new musical ideas.
Toward the end of 1959, the Ornette Coleman Quartet came to New York for the very first time with the prophetically titled The Shape of Jazz to Come. They were all but unknown, But those who were hip to the scene were there to check out the band's New York debut at the 5 Spot.
We couldn't wait. Went down to the 5 Spot and had a rehearsal one afternoon, and then we opened up. There were lines around the block. The place was packed with people, so it was quite a deal.
The opening night, they had everybody. Everybody was there, and so he was kind of on auditory trial, so to speak.
And we couldn't wait to get to work and play because the music was so great and new and fresh.
And that's when the shape of jazz to come is, dropped on the New York jazz scene.
That first night of Ornette was a sacco impact and unforgettable. I don't think I ever heard 4 musicians who gave me the impression of surrounding me. I was in the middle of it. Bang.
We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. We must get ready for it. Duck and cover. Atta boy, Tony. Act fast.
Coleman spoke the paranoia that existed in the nuclear age. The reaction that many people had just to this idea that the entire world could be blown up.
To play music with this urgency, this desperate urgency to make something new that's never been before, as if you're on the front line and you're risking your life for every note you play.
Well, I was there the opening night, and I was really unprepared for the hostility. I was sitting next to Roy Eldridge, and Roy was a warm, generous guy, and he was listening to Ornette, and he said, "He's just jiving, man. That's not music."
People were saying it was random, it was chaotic, it was this or that.
There were people who became angry at the music and let it be known that they hated it.
In New York, everything was under suspicion. And I didn't know about being under suspicion. I just thought about picking up my horn, activating the idea that's going through my nervous system.
This guy had extreme nerve. See the things that Ornette would play, even today you actually cannot believe that he played some of them, just the sheer audacity of it.
In New York, Ornette Coleman playing his white plastic sax was considered pretty out there, too.
It looked kind of funny because, as people said, "Oh, well, what happened to the candy that was inside it when you bought it?"
You got a great sound out of this instrument, man. You wouldn't think it was plastic. We'd be playing and I'd say, "Oh my God, I hope this horn don't melt, man. This cat's playing." So it's heavy stuff, you know.
It's hard to understand a negative reaction to that. Something so fabulous. I mean, like, what would people object to in it? I can't even imagine it. He changed everything. He changed everything. The whole approach, the way of looking at it, the style of it, the sound.
He influenced people that don't even know he influenced them, who think they hated the music. It gets into you. It's just, you can't help it. Maybe that's what upset them so much.
I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I want to be as human as I can get, believe me. And there's nothing I'm trying to hide. There's nothing I'm trying to climb above. There's nothing I'm trying to destroy. No one is going to suffer from what the human race does because it's not going to destroy itself. It's going to improve itself. Music is something that, to me, is nothing but the sound of your emotions. It's your heart, it's your feelings, it's your belief, it's your ability, and most of all, it's your love. And what's so beautiful about it, it's not destructive. It's always something that gets better.
'1959 was a really important year in jazz because you had some of the greatest musicians in the world playing a response to what had been played, but was also a response to what could be played. The art was advanced in 1959. Another set of choices were provided for everybody.
Miles Davis' Kind of Blue has become jazz's best-selling album, hugely influential from its 1959 release right up until today.
Kind of Blue definitely changed music. It just kind of opened up the horizon for jazz expression.
Miles would go on to influence the course of jazz many more times. Dave Brubeck still continues to follow his own groove, and Time Out remains a high point of jazz innovation.
With Time Out, it finally happened the way we all dreamt of it. It stood the test of time, this one.
Charles Mingus, a political as well as musical force, is now recognized as being among the 20th century's most important composers. Mingus Aham remains a prime work by this unpredictable genius.
He was sharing his emotions about life. The message he always said to Seidman was play yourself. And you could extend this to all of us. Play yourself, be who you are.
But the record that has most changed jazz in this last half-century is Ornette Coleman's The Shape of Jazz to Come. It came out of nowhere and fired a starting gun on new forms of music. The LP still sounds radical.
He's divisive even to this day. Being divisive is a defining element almost to Ornette Coleman's music.
The legacy of The Shape of Jazz to Come will be to create no boundaries, to play new music as much as you can, not to be satisfied with the status quo.
The Jazz continues here next week on BBC4 with Oscar Peterson on Friday at 7:30. Coming up, though, we're heading back to Sissinghurst for another double bill.